Welcome back to the ZERT Coffee and Chaos podcast, a show where we talk about anything and everything relating to what it means to be a prepared individual and a survivalist in today's day and age. I'm your host, Chris Bardagon, ZP002. Back with me on the show, my co-host, Jamie Franks. Jamie, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
And with that being said, I realize that our names are not up, and look at that.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. They change things all around here, and there they are, wrong colors. We'll have to fix
I was
that
gonna say, yeah, now it looks different too.
as we go. Technology, I'll tell you what, man, it is something here. We'll have to figure out the color scheme here as we are working this thing all out. There we go. Boom. I got a red. Holy cow.
There we go.
Technology, it's great. I love it. AI is taking over. The world is ending. At the time of this recording, we are what? We are less than a week away from election.
Days. Yes, 6 days out.
Tuesday, right?
Is it Tuesday? I thought it was Wednesday. Tuesday. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Tuesday. Yeah. So yeah, we are less than a week here, folks. And again, at the time of this recording, we're still unsure, but by the time you guys listen to this, we will hopefully have been told that there is a new president and
President-elect.
A president-elect, you're right. And we hope that it is the choice that everyone voted for. I can be as vague as that. I know how I'm going. I'm pretty sure I know how Jamie is going, and I just hope that the rest of America makes the right choice. It's time to look past personality and vote for policy. And with that being said, there's a candidate out there who has proven some policies have worked, and another candidate that has not. All we know about that one is that they grew up in a middle-class family and they love yellow school buses.
Electric school buses.
Electric school buses on top of it. So yeah. Anyway, enough about that. How are you?
You said you hope the person wins that everybody voted for, so that means you're hoping that whoever gets the most of the popular vote wins?
Popular electoral, it's all a big giant mess. I hope that there's enough people out there that realize the last 4 years suck and we're not headed in that same direction.
It's crazy that because really, I mean, whether anybody likes it or not, the electoral map is really what counts.
Unfortunately,
and that's not unfortunate. Otherwise, whoever, if you lived in Iowa, your vote would not count because whoever California and New York would elect every single president ever if there was no electoral college. But that's where I was going with that. It's crazy that because it's always the race to 270 because whichever candidate gets 270 electoral votes is who wins the election. It's crazy that California by itself is 54 electoral votes and it has gone blue. I mean, at a minimum for at least years in my lifetime, I think I would actually, that'd be an interesting Google search. When, if ever, was the last time California went broke red? But there's basically no chance of that anymore. And that's 54 electoral votes. That's it's like 3 states combined.
But then you look at states like Georgia. It never comes down to California. It comes down to states like Georgia, Pennsylvania, like these.
But that's because there are a number of states on both sides that are a given. Like this state is going to be blue and this state is going to be red. And
but the last election, I mean, Pennsylvania has been red and it went blue.
And now it's a toss-up. So
exactly. So now we're back to that. What's scary is Texas. But the kind of the ideology behind that is there's a lot of people that are leaving California for Texas, and that's a potential problem.
So that's the same thing for 4 years. I was stationed in Illinois. That's where I worked. That's where I was a water survival instructor. and I lived right on the border of Wisconsin and Illinois. And like while I lived there was kind of when Wisconsin went from being red to being purple, and like now Wisconsin is mostly a blue state, and North Carolina, where I grew up, was deep red when I was a kid and teenager, and like now has gone purple, kind of leaning towards blue.
Yeah, it's a
But
toss up.
it's these are all it's so stupid when you think about it. It's like these are all three examples that we just cited are results of people that didn't like the way the politics were going where they lived, moved somewhere else where it was to be better. That's why you moved, because this place you're moving to is better than the place you're leaving, and then they go there and then still vote for the same crap that caused them to leave the place that they left from. So like people from New York and Ohio mostly, and actually in a little bit of Pennsylvania, they retire and move to North Carolina and then start voting Democrat. And then people from Illinois retire and move to Wisconsin and start voting Democrat. And people,
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
you know, when you look at this map, um, you're right. Obviously, California has the most electoral votes.
yeah, it's as much as three other states combined.
Right. You know, and what's funny is Texas is not deemed the dark red, which is safe. It is likely.
Yeah.
Florida, same thing, likely. Um, you know, that's 70 votes, 70 electorals right there. I mean, if you win California, Texas, and Florida, I mean, it's going to be a very, very uphill battle
Yeah.
to get the rest,
Yeah. Like,
especially when you got New York. New York is 28. So, you know, those big numbers, I mean, and after New York, there is not a lot of large numbers. I mean, Georgia has, looks like Georgia has 16, North Carolina has 16, you know, Virginia has 13. Virginia is in that likely state. Um, Maine
well,
and
I
New
think,
Hampshire,
well,
shocking.
Virginia is breaking blue, right? Like that's,
It is.
yeah. Yeah.
It
And then,
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
you've
Michigan, I'm very politically
is it
engaged, and I check this stuff like, almost, actually I was about to say almost on a daily basis. I think I do check it on a daily basis, but like the last several days when the new polling data has come out, like one day Michigan is red, the next day it's blue, the next day it's red again, the next day it's blue again. So that one will be an interesting one because Michigan is 15 electoral votes, I believe. But
Michigan is 15, and right
yeah,
now it's as at a toss up. Wisconsin's at a toss up. Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania.
yeah.
I'm shocked to see New Hampshire and Maine leaning towards blue. New Hampshire for sure, but that's a very
I,
strange
Well,
outcome to
so
me.
again, North Carolina is my home state, and the politics of North Carolina have become that you just put it a great way. Like the politics of North Carolina have become so strange. Like I don't, I can't understand what's happening in my home state where I grew up. 'Cause, like in 2016, between Trump and Clinton, it came down so close that they had to do like two recounts, and the state I think barely broke for Trump. Like which
Yeah,
it's again,
yeah.
that's just
I
strange to
it,
me.
absolutely insane. You know, we can, I never like to, but we can talk politics and talk this stuff back and forth for a little bit. Obviously it's a polarizing topic, and we never really want to get too deep down the rabbit hole. I'm sure
Well,
we could, and I'm sure we would get all the clicks in the world and all the likes and the views, and everyone would be in the comment section just engaging in full on Thunderdome. But we try not to do that. We try to keep the show about the important stuff and what it means to be a survivalist and a prepared individual,
right.
and a smart individual. You know, and that's why today's topic, it's has nothing to do with politics, and it has all to do with
Or does it?
making the right choices when it comes to being prepared. I don't know if you've watched this show yet, Jamie. It's on season 2. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's called Lioness.
No, I think Because I do have Prime, and I believe it keeps coming up like like it shows like recommended for you. I
Yeah.
think it keeps
Yeah.
coming up in my recommended thing, but I haven't watched it.
It's a very good show. It's another Taylor Sheridan show. So the
Oh,
guy who
okay.
did
Yeah.
Yellowstone, all of that stuff. An amazing cast of characters. The dynamic between the characters is incredible. As far as known actors, you've got Zoe Saldana, Nicole Kidman, Morgan Freeman, um, uh the girl who is part of the team she was on the series Teen Wolf, and the guy who is part of the CIA, he was the dude in Dawn of the Dead, the security guard in Dawn of the Dead, that was the remake, the one who lasted until the end. That's probably it as far as notable characters. You'll see another guy, like there's a guy that plays one of the other team members who was in Yellowstone.
Hmm.
um but it's a very good show. I've enjoyed it. And where I'm going with this is in season 2, which just dropped. They're putting together a team, and they're like, can I get Delta? And they're like, no, you can have some gray men. And I was like, okay, cool, interesting. We'll see where this goes. But as I was writing the title for the show, how are we spelling gray these days? I got to understand as this goes out on social media. Is it Gray? Is it Grey?
I would probably spell it Gray.
Okay.
But I just, I as a kid opening my box of Crayola crayons, the 48 pack, and I'm
Mm.
pulling out the colors and like reading what the colors were on the crayon.
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
remember that the color gray on the crayon was Grey.
Interesting. All
But if
right.
I don't know, maybe we can the
Listen,
deciding vote
that's
can
the
be
in the
Jennifer Grey
comments.
from Red Dawn. I don't,
There you go.
maybe that's
Or the comment section. We would love to hear that in the comment section. Folks, if you are not aware, we put out this show every Thursday. It goes out on Spotify, it goes out on Apple, and then the video portion of the show drops on YouTube after that. We usually put up a short as a reel so you can then see it on other social media platforms, and you can go check it out. If you are listening to this and you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please head over there and do that. Smash the like button on this video and hit the bell so you are notified when new videos like this come out. We are also putting out videos on product reviews and other various topics that pertain to survivalism and preparedness. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And always thank you for the support. So, that being said, the gray man discussion is going to kind of kick off today. Um, this is a topic you and I have had up for a minute now, right?
that we've had like in the hopper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting
Um,
that so in
yeah.
go just to go back for a second. So you're saying in this show, Lioness,
Yes.
they like some government person requested like attack team wanted Delta guys, and they said no, you can have gray men. So
Yeah. Now,
um
I don't want to give too much of the show away because I know that there are some people out there that are watching it, or maybe have not watched it. But the basis of the show is CIA that uses the unit. Um, I'm assuming that they're from the unit. And the Lioness program is they embed a what they're calling a lioness into a terrorist cell. They get close to like the wife or the daughter of a not so much a known terrorist, but somebody that supports the terrorism, like a that maybe you know allows them to access to money or whatnot. And they go and they build this relationship, and then they obviously they take out the target. Um,
I just found it interesting that like in this show, that they're referencing like, because I haven't seen it, presumably like a somewhat organized, trained team of government operatives that is somewhat undercover, meaning that they're gray or whatever, meaning not in uniform, whatever. And I find that interesting from a standpoint that the gray man thing must be catching on, because just because they said it in a TV show, that doesn't mean that that's
No,
actually
of course not.
a thing that's because I've never me in the military, I've never heard of, I've never run across any team of people that were referred to as gray men, um like I think we talked about it before in the movie Civil War. There's that scene where those guys are assaulting that building against, what appears to be uh, a military unit, and then the guys that are assaulting the building are dudes that, quite frankly, it looks like the people that come to one of my classes, because
Right,
it's guys in Hawaiian shirts and plate carriers and stuff like that, and they spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie, when they're assaulting this building, this group of like gray men or whatever, like they're in a battle against the like
right. Yeah,
military guys, and they win. So
yeah. Now, obviously, that dystopian future from that movie
mhm.
is you know, well, it's all make believe, but
No,
this
I'm
movie,
just saying.
yeah,
I,
this show, I would go. I mean, just go watch it. The main agency, the three-letter agency that is running this program is CIA, and so I actually I called Paul and I was like, "Hey, is the CIA as cool as it is in portrayed in movies or whatnot and TV show?" And he had his take on it. I mean, I would probably end up having a phone call with a buddy of mine that was in the unit for many years to ask him the same question. Who knows what they can say and what they can't say? Um, I guess if you look at movies that depict CIA operatives, you've
so when
got
you're saying the unit, are you referring to CIA?
no Delta.
Okay, all right, correct. Okay, sorry. Because
Yeah,
yes, all right.
right.
Because the unit would either be the company or the agency. I didn't know
Yeah,
if you were referring to the CIA as the unit, so I was going to
yeah.
correct you on that, but you already
No,
know. So
yeah. Um, so uh one of the I mean, and I don't know, I can't remember the name of the movie, and I just watched it the other day. I think it's called Spy Game. Robert Redford,
oh, I
Brad
love it.
Pitt,
It's one of my favorite movies. Yep.
right? Like that's CIA.
Yeah.
The movie with, and it's a true story, Ben Affleck about the
Oh, Argo.
Argo, right? Another one. Like you got to wonder, right? You got to wonder. Obviously, when you think of CIA, everybody refers to CIA as spies, and you think of the FBI as a federal police department, so to speak. And obviously, there's one that can operate within borders and one that cannot operate
Oh,
within the borders,
it's not supposed to.
um, or not supposed to. Correct. So again, but the funny thing is that gray men, it's obviously people that were once in the unit are no longer in the unit, and who
Well,
knows if
the only reason I brought it up is because that means that this idea, at least the framework of an ideal of the gray man is become so prevalent that now it's starting to work its way into Hollywood and stuff, and pop up in different, slightly different. It shows up, not what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's different shades of gray
right.
man.
There it is.
But
Not 50 shades.
right, yeah,
Not
not
50.
yet. But but this idea of being the gray man, and in this show you're talking about, they're straight up calling it that, but I'm seeing more in TV shows and movies of this kind of portrayal uh of what you and I think of as a gray man is starting to creep into these Hollywood movies and stuff. And there's that new one. Crap, I didn't think we were going to talk about this, but
No,
the
I wasn't
the
expecting to.
the movie that the one I sent you the link for the trailer a couple days ago.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yep.
That's the new one that's coming out from Angel Studios. That seems to have gray man
Yeah.
adjacent, or
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about gray man before, and there's that funny video out there. I can't remember who put it out a couple months ago. It made its round.
Homestead.
It made
Sorry.
Yeah, it made its rounds on the internet about gray man's how to get a gray man some therapy now or whatnot. It's funny. It's a funny skit that somebody did. It's hilarious. Just search it on YouTube. I'm sure you guys can find it. But there's there's understanding the concept of gray man and then fully investing your entire identity around it, almost to the point where you're no longer the gray man. The guy who is dressed in 511 from top to bottom with his front satchel fanny pack. Like you're not, you missed the assignment, guy. You
Yeah, and
missed
I
it.
would like to point out, you're not really using hyperbole. I have seen those people. I've seen the
Oh
guy
yeah.
that looks like he tripped and fell out of
Yeah.
the off the cover of the 511 catalog,
Yeah.
and like,
Now,
bro, you're everybody in here knows you have a gun. You're not gray, and so it's
yeah.
that thing where when you walk into a room and go, "Hey, everybody, I'm the gray man." Well, now you're
Right.
not
Yeah.
anymore. Like,
Wow, that was really loud.
good.
Um, you and it doesn't just start and stop with the clothes that you're wearing. It's everything. It's your I mean, your entire it's in it, it's your entire personality that can and probably will give you away, right? I get it. Nobody wants to sit with their back to the door. Now you can look at that as the gray man thing, or you could watch a lot of mafia movies. I mean, that's all the same, right? I mean, I don't like to do it. And it's funny, I was sitting there and I was talking to Kyle once, and he says, obviously, if I can sit with my back not to the door, that's great. But I also know that my wife is more observant than I am. And if she's sitting with her face fronting or her front facing the door, I know that I'm fine because she's going to be observant just as much, and she was like, and I kind of, that resonated with me for a second there. But making sure that you have to get the table in the corner so nobody can, it's just like, okay, guy, we get it. Um,
Well, and like, so gray man has like tactical implications, I think, most of the time when people reference it, but like it definitely is not only that. One of my best friends in the world is a very wealthy person. And if you didn't know him and didn't know anything about him and you just saw him at Walmart, you would think he was like poor as fuck. Like
right,
he wears ratty t-shirts that have holes in them, and you know cargo shorts from Old Navy and a pair of flip-flops, and he kind of looks like a dirtbag, and he's actually pretty rich. But
right,
and so and like that's also a version of gray man, is just
yeah,
like, being unassuming, or not, just being that person that people just kind of look past.
right.
Uh,
And again, it goes beyond that, right? You can dress down, jeans, a t-shirt, a polo, a flannel, whatever the case may be. Um, wearing a flannel these days, I mean, everybody wears a Dixon flannel, it seems. It's a very popular brand and everybody's got them, and it is what it is. I mean, it doesn't necessarily label you as anything except that you're just kind of keeping your finger on the pulse of in fashion at the time. If flannels happen to go out of style and long sleeve polo shirts come back, I mean, I'm sure everybody will rock in an Under Armour, but it goes beyond that. And, we haven't even really gotten into much of what we want to talk about today
no,
because we can sit here and go a long ways. But it comes down to, like I said, it starts with you, it also expands to your vehicle. If you are driving around in your Toyota Tacoma, your Chevy Canyon, all of these new smaller trucks seem to be the fad for your gun bros out there, and you've got the back window from left to right pasted with stickers like Molon Labe and I support the second and we the people and your
three
SIG
percenter,
sticker and your Glock sticker and your 3%er sticker and your
sheepdog.
sheepdog and your, um, something about the storm. And I responded, I am the storm. And, yeah, great. Thanks. I know where to go get a firearm should I need one. Go back to the scene in the Born Identity, the first one, right? When Matt Damon is sitting in the diner with the female, and he says, "I don't know how I know this, but I know that if I want the guy that walked in can handle himself, I know that if I want to go fire a firearm, it's in the third pickup truck out in the parking lot." Now, who knows what I mean, but I guarantee you, maybe the sticker, maybe that truck had a Sig Sauer. This truck is protected by Sig Sauer. It's like, okay, man.
Or the scene at the beginning of 1984 Red Dawn where the guy has the bumper sticker, "You can have my gun when you pry it from my cold dead hand," and the Russian soldier pries it from his cold dead hand.
Cold dead hands, exactly. So, um, you know, that gray man mentality expands past that, right? Like, okay, it doesn't matter if you don't dress in head to toe 511, but you've got your truck plastered with every kind of
Right.
firearm sticker known to man. Um, and we know that you're keeping a firearm in there. And the whole point and the whole topic of today's conversation and podcast, as we are 30 minutes in, is is a truck gun a necessity or is it just plain dumb?
I
And you know, I mean, you can look at it a couple of different ways, right? I mean, we all want to be prepared, and there's probably a time to keep a firearm in your vehicle for extended periods of time, and then there's probably everyday situations where it doesn't make a lot of sense. We're probably going to get into some maybe some data here about how many cars are broken into every hour in the United States.
mm,
I mean, I think that that's probably a very viable topic to discuss when we discuss this. But I don't know, Jamie. What do you think? I mean, where do you fall on truck guns?
I think, to answer the question you just posed, which I think was a rhetorical question, so
Kind of.
I'll take a lap when we're done. But, you know, is it dumb on one side of the spectrum, or is it? I think the other option was necessity, and I think like pretty much everything that we discuss here, it is in the middle.
Right.
Um, I have a go bag that has a what I guess what would fall into the category of truck gun in it, but that go bag's not in my vehicle all the time every day. It is very situational dependent, and it depends on where I'm going. We've talked at length before about how having a rifle isn't a necessity, um, and one could argue that your seatbelt is also not a necessity. But if you're listening to this, you're probably wearing a seatbelt. Um,
Right.
so it's a nice to have. There are times when I do like a risk assessment, or I kind of do the calculus on which is, I don't know. Again, you could argue that the calculation I'm doing on whether I take my truck gun go bag today or not. You could tell me that was based on BS, and you wouldn't really be wrong, because I've I, I what did we say before? I'm 0 for 16,000.
Right.
I'm approximately 16,000 days old, and I've never gotten into a gunfight where I needed a rifle in the United States. So,
Right. Right.
it revolves around what you think is necessary, what you think is nice to have, what you think your risk assessment is going to be. I mean, and maybe I could argue back at you that, well, the reason I'm 0 for 16,000 is because I don't have my head up my butt, and because I am prepared.
Right. Well,
There's I
hold
think the
on.
truth lies in the middle.
Okay, but let
Or
me just challenge that because I don't think being prepared and being obnoxiously foreshadowing that you are prepared are the same thing. I mean, you can be one without being the other. You don't have to dress in full gear to let everybody know that you're
oh, correct.
prepared
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to
Well,
be
that's
prepared, right?
right, and that's never the case with me.
Right,
I
right.
like I don't dress like tactical guy. I try to dress like actually, like one of the compliments my girlfriend has said is, she said, like, I mean, the truth be told, I do have my gun most of the time. I mean, it's probably in the 90%, 90 something percent that I have
Well,
my
but
gun on me.
on you,
But
right, on your
but what
person.
yeah, yeah, but
Okay,
what I was saying is, she always says, like, she never knows whether I have it or not. Because I don't it,
right,
I carry a gun that with my style of dress, I can make it disappear. I'm so used to carrying it and used to having it that it doesn't impede my movements. I don't have to move a certain way. Like, yeah, I can't bend over and get and tie my shoe because I've got my gun on. Like, I'm not like, whether I have my gun or not, you can't tell from an outsider looking at me. You can't tell. whether I have
Right.
it or not. And to me, that was a huge compliment for her to tell me that, because there was a time when we went hiking and I was like in my hiking clothes. I was in like a lightweight, moisture wicking athletic t-shirt and my little booty shorts, running ranger panty short.
Right, right.
And she hugged me at the end of the hike and she was like, "Oh, you had your gun on this whole time?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like,
Yeah.
I never know when
But
you have it." But
well,
and I'm like, "Yeah,
and that
good."
and obviously people that carry every day, that they know how to do it. But going back to that point where that's
Yeah.
on you, on your person, like you just said, like, yes, you've got a go bag that you will put in your truck.
Mhm.
And I mean, I know that if you're traveling for extended distance, kind of like I am, I will make sure that I have what I need to, and we've always talked about it. What would I have on me? What I was, and go back to the part where what I have in my truck should get me home, and I will level up as needed. But on the daily, I don't roll around in my vehicle with a rifle. More importantly, I don't have a sticker on my vehicle that lets anybody know anything about my persona or my personality at
Yeah.
all. And I think that's very important. I guess if you feel inclined to keep a gun in your vehicle, whether it be a pistol or a rifle, make sure your vehicle is not shouting out, I am carrying something in here. If if it is in your vehicle, I guess the question to all of you out there is it secured in your vehicle? Is it hidden in your vehicle? The days of the rifle rack on the back window are long gone. I grew up that
Mm.
way. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I did. I think we talked about it before. Like I graduated from high school, prior to Columbine ever happening, and
Right.
I would say conservatively, I would say at least half of the, I would say half of the boys that had a driver's license and had a vehicle had a truck, and then half of those trucks had a shotgun or a rifle on a rack in the back window, like completely, unsecured.
Right.
You could have stolen it with a rock. You could have taken a rock and broken out the back window and had those guns. But half the cars in the parking lot were trucks, and half the trucks had a long
Yeah.
gun in the back window. But so that is, though, the origin of the truck gun. So uh,
Right.
now I think, again, because like everything has been like hijacked by and I hate this term, but it's the world. Like I always say, accept reality on reality's terms. The tactical industry, I hate that. I hate the word tactical in general because everybody misuses it all the
Right.
time. But truck gun has been hijacked by the tactical industry and tactical people trying to be tactical tacticians of tactics. But the origin of the truck gun is like, you brought up earlier. You referenced Yellowstone, and I mean, that's a perfect example. Is there's a scene, it's in the, I don't know, second season of Yellowstone maybe, where these like Japanese tourists have like gotten off their bus and are
Right.
standing 5 feet away from a bear, and like trying to take selfies with the bear.
Yeah.
And Kevin Costner rolls up and he's like, what the hell are you people doing? That
Right.
bear's gonna eat you. Get out of here. And he goes to his truck and he comes back with his Winchester lever action rifle to scare the bear away. That actually is the origin of the quote unquote truck gun, was ranchers and farmers who needed a ranch rifle in
Well,
their
yeah.
vehicle to shoot a coyote, to shoot a wolf that was preying on their cattle, to scare bears
Right.
away from Japanese tourists, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Um,
Well,
eh,
if you let me hold on, I want to just jump in there. If you think about it, the origin of the truck gun started with out the truck, and it was the cowboy on the horse with that same
Stagecoach,
rifle. Well, yeah, or the stagecoach, but all of those guys, they're carrying that rifle in there on on a mobile platform, whether it be a horse, a stagecoach, and
right?
now obviously it's the truck. So it it you're right, where the history of what we're talking about goes back a long time. But go ahead. I'm sorry, finish.
No, so that I think in places where there are still modern day ranchers and farmers, I'm
Mhm.
sure that version of the truck gun is
Oh
still
yeah,
alive and well, and is probably fine. It's
I would
it's
agree.
now, but it's moved into the tactical space, and now people in urban areas are thinking that they're doing a good gray man tactical preparedness guy thing by keeping like an AR platform rifle
Right.
in your truck, and then there's there's all these things that you see on social media. I literally I see them, if not every day, probably pretty close to it. I see these advertisements because of the algorithm on social media. These
Right.
advertisements for these things, they're like these. I don't know if they're made. I don't have one. Um, they're either made out of metal or polymer, but it's like this Molly panel that you mount to the back of your seat, and you can
Yes.
put your rifle in there, and it looks really awesome. Like it really, like I mean, the gun
I,
display that's behind me, it turns the back of your seat into a version of that.
right.
But like that scratches my my OCD
Oh yeah.
um or organization itches, where I like the aesthetic. I like the display of having the gun and the magazine and the pouch and the thing and the med kit and my helmet and my night vision goggles. It's fantasy, because it's like when I was a kid and I watched the A Team, and it wasn't in every episode, but there were some scenes where they go to the A Team van and they open up the secret panel in the A Team van, and there's
Yeah.
like all the guns and the thing. It's like when John Wick opens his gun locker and
Yeah.
it's
Of
all the
course.
gun. Everybody likes that stuff, but that's why it's in movies. It's because it's a fantasy, and I do think there's a right way to execute the truck gun in the modern tactical urban environment. And I just think most people are doing it wrong. And I think like those ads that I'm seeing on Facebook and Instagram on a near daily basis that are trying to get you to put your rifle into a rack on the back of your passenger seat that could be cut off with my pocket knife, and now I have all your stuff. That's not the smart right way to do it.
So, okay, so you think now, but do you think that it's a daily occurrence that needs to happen? So if you're driving 7 miles to work, do you need to keep the firearm in your vehicle, or are you good with the firearm that you're carrying, and then you can level that up with more magazines or whatever that you keep in your vehicle? I mean, I think there should be a fine line because, you know,
There
the
is
other
a fine
side.
line, and
Right.
like like all of these things, there is not a one size fits all. If there was, then
Mhm.
that would be what everybody does. Because even the example that you just gave was a very basic example, and I like it because even in such a very basic example, there's so many variables at play there. The example you just gave was guy who drives 7 miles to work. Does he
Right.
need a truck gun in my truck? Um, does where you work have a secured parking lot? Do you have to like scan a badge to go in and park inside of a fenced area that's secured with a security guard or something, where you can be reasonably sure that your vehicle is not going to get broken into or messed with? Maybe. If not,
Right.
then you need to rethink. Okay. Are you driving straight from home to work and then from work straight back home? Or am I stopping at Walmart?
Right.
That needs to be a consideration, because once you have your gun in your truck, you can't undo that. So now
Right.
you either have to not stop at Walmart, or you really have to roll the dice and really hope that
Right.
nobody's going to break into your truck and steal your rifle while
Right.
you're in Walmart, buying coffee creamer. Like, so
Right. Now,
there's even in such a basic example, there's lots of variables that
right. And some of those obviously they're what you drive also comes into the equation here, right? So I drive a pickup truck with a hardcover, a tonneau hardcover, and obviously you can lock the tailgate. Um, Inside of that truck, I know that Pelican makes a bunch of different cases, if you will, or storage boxes that bolt into the truck and then can be locked inside of there. So you have a locked box inside of a locked pickup truck that is not in the back of the truck, or in the cab of the truck, if you will, or the cabin of the truck. Um, which adds a level or a couple levels of deterrence, is all we're going to say here. Because if somebody wants in, they can get in. If they steal your truck, they've got all the time in the world to get into whatever it is that you've got,
well,
inside the vehicle.
so when's the last time what's the last time or the last person that got their car stereo stolen?
So not car stereo, but I'm glad you asked that question. So in 2023, more than 1 million vehicles were stolen in the United States, which is about one vehicle every 31 seconds.
And that's
This
the
is
whole vehicle being stolen.
The whole vehicle. This is
Okay.
a 25% increase from the previous years, and the highest rate of vehicle theft since 2008 recession. Now, the stereo is in the vehicle if the vehicle's stolen. So there's one number for you. That number probably changes when it's just vehicle broken into and stuff taken out.
So yeah, so I specifically asked car stereo because you probably can't even remember the last time that you had somebody steal a car stereo.
No, just
But when you
because.
and I were teenagers,
Right.
that's when there was the whole fad about the removable faceplate off the stereo, and it came with, like, when you bought your car stereo, it came with like a little carrying case, and
Yeah.
teenage Jamie was walking around in my leather bomber jacket with the
Sweet.
faceplate of my car stereo in the inside pocket of my leather bomber
Oh,
jacket. But
wow.
you don't have to do that anymore because people
No.
don't steal car stereos anymore. So I I don't even know. I don't know if you have this statistic. I didn't know you had that one at hand. But uh, in my neighborhood, I live in a very nice low crime neighborhood. One of the highest, uh, actually probably the highest crime instance in my neighborhood, in my community, is vehicle prowling, is what they call it, and it's a time game, and it's a path of least resistance game. It's people like I've got security cameras on the outside of my house, and I've seen it actually several times. And when I say several, like more than 6 times, I've gotten footage of people in black hoodies coming around at night and walking down my street and just pulling on the door handles of every car, and
It's
and
interesting.
they'll eventually get to one that's unlocked, and that person did not. I guarantee you, I 100% guarantee you, that person did not leave their car unlocked on purpose. That person whose car was unlocked thought they locked it.
Yeah, of
And
course.
so guy with truck gun probably thought he locked his car also. And mistakes happen. So negligence is one thing, but also mistakes happen. But vehicle prowling, um, is very prominent in my neighborhood, which is actually a really nice low crime area. Um, they rarely break out windows because they know if they go if they roll the dice, if they pull the handle on the slot machine enough times, eventually they're going to come up with a win. That people accidentally leave their cars unlocked all the time, but at that point it becomes a time game because they don't want to make a bunch of noise, they don't want to look suspicious, they don't and like I said, then it becomes a path of least resistance game. They're just going to take whatever they can grab and carry. So you hit on a very good point earlier, that if you are going to have a truck gun, and if you're going to have it in your vehicle, kind of on a normal, like maybe not an everyday basis, but like a normal um, commuting situation where again, using that very basic scenario that you described, you're a person driving to work, driving home, maybe you're going to run a couple of errands on the way to or from work or whatever. If you have these are the three keywords: locked, hard-sided, hard-mounted, um, thing in
Right.
your container in your vehicle. I think you would be okay, um, in 99% of vehicle. I mean, obviously if they steal the whole car,
Right. That's
then
the
then
right.
that's the catch all. But in my neighborhood, like, cars don't really get stolen, cars get prowled and broken into. um and so I had my I'm pretty sure I've told you about this. It was a few years ago, is when I still had my Forerunner. And just to Chris's point, I drove a plain white Forerunner that had a Rescue Swimmer sticker in the back window, and now I drive a Subaru Outback that has a Rescue Swimmer sticker in the back window, and that's it. No tactical indications of anything. Um, but in my Forerunner, I'm actually still looking for one that fits in the Outback. But in the Forerunner, it was called a Monster Vault, and it was actually a steel, like, gun safe. It wasn't fire rated or anything, but it was a steel gun safe that had a really high quality lock that was hard mounted to the vehicle, like there, like without some kind of angle grinder or saw or something. You were not stealing this safe out of my vehicle. It was hard mounted down, locked, secure. I did a we had like a 4-day weekend off work, and so some friends and I went camping up in the mountains here in Southern California, and we had the 4-day weekend, but then I deliberately took the next day off of work as well. Um, and I got home late Sunday night, and all of my stuff was still in my Forerunner. And if you know me, all my camping gear is pretty high quality, pretty high price stuff. Um, I pulled into my driveway late Sunday night and I was tired and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna leave all this stuff in here. I'm gonna unpack it in the morning. That night, and my girlfriend came over that night because she hadn't seen me in a few days, and I drove a Toyota 4Runner, she drove a Toyota Corolla. Uh, that night, my security camera, I was asleep. My security camera captured these two dirt bags roll up in a beater, like an old 1990s beater Ford Ranger, and they got out and they had some sort of electronic device in their hand. And
Okay.
because both of our vehicles were Toyotas, I assume they were able to unlock both of our vehicles. And my girlfriend at the time lived in Los Angeles, and so she was smart enough to never leave anything in her vehicle. So they literally
Right.
unlocked her vehicle, opened it. They took nothing out of her car because there was nothing in there for them to
Yeah.
steal. Then they went to my car and they hit the mother load. They had like all of my camping gear, my survival kit, my med
Oh,
kit,
wow.
my everything. Like I think all told, it was like $14,000 worth of stuff. It was Oakley sunglasses. It
Wow.
was they stole my checkbook that was in there, which caused a
Yeah.
lot of problems. They
Yep. Yep.
they stole my tools that were in the back of the truck. Like I mean, they took their time and they literally stole everything. They stole my
Yeah.
fucking jacket that I'd worn in Afghanistan. But
So,
anyway,
well,
the
hold on.
only
Let me
thing,
just.
hang on.
Oh, go ahead.
The only thing that they did not steal and they did not touch was I had that vault in there that did have guns and magazines and ammo in it, and they weren't like that was the only thing. And thankfully, that they were not able to get into. They weren't able to steal. They weren't able to take it. They could have stolen the whole vehicle, I suppose, but they
Right.
didn't. And
Yeah. But you bring up a good point, and that I think that's something for people that are listening to take home with them as well. Be careful with what you do keep in your vehicle. Like, it's funny, when I lived in St. Louis, my car got broken into. I did not have much in there. They took the change that was in the ashtray. This was when A, cars had ashtrays, and B, you would put pocket change in there. But they stole that and they stole a checkbook. Um, and if I sit here and think about it, I do not have a checkbook in my vehicle now. I don't keep one in there any longer. So that's a good point, because the funny part about mine was I didn't realize that my car had been broken into right away. It wasn't until a couple hours later, like I got in, something seemed wrong. And you're right. I might have forgotten to lock the car, but there was nothing broken. There was no window broken. So if you happen to have your car rifled through and there's no broken window and some stuff has been taken, you never know. Like, don't keep a spare set of keys in your vehicle. If you've got a garage door opener in there, like that's another thing. Like, I mean, those are some things that you need to be cognizant of outside of the firearm
yeah,
situation.
yep.
Granted, you can have a Kate, like you said, a vault for your firearms, but there's a lot of stuff. So,
It's
you
so
know,
funny that you say that because the not to get too far off topic, but the morning after my Forerunner got broken into and everything was stolen. Um, I went out just like every other morning, and so the Forerunner, when you locked it, it would go beep, and when
yeah,
you unlocked it, it would go beep beep.
yeah,
When I went out that morning and hit the unlock, it just did the single beep, and I was like, that's weird. And
yeah.
I was taking my daughter to daycare, and I put my daughter. She was old enough to climb in and put herself in the car seat, so I didn't have to put her in the car seat. So she got in the back and climbed up into her car seat, and I went and got in the driver's seat. And the glove compartment was open. And that was the second, like, huh,
Oh,
that's weird. And then
yeah.
it's like in slow motion, I was like, oh no. And then I
Yeah.
turned around and looked, and that's when everything clicked into place that last night this Forerunner was like full of camping gear and equipment, and now everything's gone.
Oh,
Shit.
that's the worst.
Yeah, and like
Now,
you said, no broken window, no nothing, because
yep.
I actually, and here's the last little kicker, and then we'll move on. I had video footage of these dudes and their vehicle. You couldn't see their faces because they were wearing like black clothing, and I think they were either wearing hats or hoodies or whatever. But you could see in my security camera video, you could see their vehicle. I don't think the license plate was visible or legible, but you could see the two individuals, you could see the vehicle, you could see what color it was, approximately what make and model and year and all that stuff it was, and you could see they had an electronic device that unlocked my car and my girlfriend's car. I said, "Hey, cops, I have this video footage. Do you want it?" And they were like, "Nah, not interested. Just call
Well,
your insurance company." I'm like, "Oh,
yeah.
thanks, guys."
I mean, yeah, who can't really speak to what made them decide to do that, but that seems a little bit it seems a little bit naive or just non or just lazy. Anyway,
But yeah,
um y- you know, losing losing camping gear regardless of the monetary value of it sucks. But having a firearm stolen is a whole separate and higher level
hmm
of suck
and
because the implications and what happens after that, especially if it gets used in a situation that
I know
does
somebody
not
that
end
happened
well.
to. I
Yeah.
know he had his house broken into, and he had a. It wasn't an AK-47. It was an AK-47. But um, it's a whatever. What do people call it? It's a Wasser 10 is the proper name for it. It's not
Oh,
actually
yeah.
an
Okay.
AK-47, but it's
Right.
an AK-47. Anyway, got his house broken into, got it stolen, and then like 12 years later, the police recovered this gun used in a crime, and then yeah, so
Yeah. Now, where does that put him in the situation? Where does that put you as the individual? If your car is broken into, you file a police report, you let them know that there was a firearm in there. I'm not too sure. What does that mean for you as a civilian who's carrying a firearm that may not be secured in a lockbox in your firearm? Again, not sure and not sure where the laws sit. I'm sure, as you're all aware, we do have an affiliate with U.S. Law Shield, and I know that there are probably professionals that work for U.S. Law Shield that can give that kind of information. So if you're interested, make sure you guys are aware of that. For any of your carry questions or needs, they have lawyers that can answer stuff like that before you decide to keep a firearm in your vehicle that is not secured. I think that's going to potentially or possibly play a big role
yeah.
in if something happens. Um, Making sure that, I mean, if you are going to carry a firearm in your vehicle, it's not directly visible, right? Like,
What shouldn't be.
don't well, no, no, and I don't mean the firearm in itself, but like if you've got a bag on the back seat that looks like it's a range bag, look like it's a, you know, I mean, it, that's just easy pickings right there. Um,
My little bag looks like a gym bag. Like it
yeah,
does not look tactical at all. In fact, it's made by I think it's made by Hurley, the surfing brand. And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah.
And here's the other thing, guys. I mean, we all love Vertex. I know I love Vertex, but it doesn't take much more than a Google search to realize what Vertex bags are and what they are not.
Well, and
Um,
this is something we talked about in our bug out bag episode way back at the
yeah,
beginning when we started this podcast. You need to tailor your bug out bag to what environment you live in. And I would say the same thing goes for your go bag or your truck gun or whatever, because like out here where I live, like drug cartel operatives are a real thing. Like that's not just something you saw in an episode of Breaking Bad. Like
right,
out here where I live, there are actually drug cartel people, and those people know what a Vertex bag is. Like
right,
like
right.
those people know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean, again, what not to do is to make sure that your whatever situation bag in your vehicle, whether it has firearms, ammunition, or other items of that sorts, is the FDE bag with all of the molly straps on the outside. Again, not something that's going to deter anybody. They know what that is. Figure out what bag makes
what
sense, what bag works.
and what like again, I just want to hit this one again. Like if you're going to put some kind of container in your vehicle, make sure It has a good lock that it's
Yeah.
lockable. If it's something that has padlocks on it, use multiple padlocks
Right.
and use padlocks that are keyed different. That's another thing that I've done. But it needs to be lockable with good lock, hard sided, hard mounted. Because don't buy junk. I'm not going to use any brand names, but there are certain brand names out there that are popular and well known, but they really are kind of junky in terms of like being a quote unquote a vehicle pistol safe. And some of them have like the stupid like bicycle cable lock, and you're supposed to put your gun in this like locked gun box
Yeah.
and then cable lock it to your to like where to your seat mount.
Well,
But
let's
somebody's
do
gonna steal
our
that in 5 seconds. But
yeah, let's do our listeners a favor and and what are those brands? I mean, let's definitely tell them what to steer
uh,
away from. I mean, and they can do their own research, but they should know what to do research on. Do you have a I mean, I know which one you're talking about. Is it I mean, does Hornady make something like that?
yeah, well, yeah, because there's I think there's one that's called Vault Tech, and there's one that's just called Gun Vault.
Well,
And
so here's what I got to say about Vaultec. I have a Vaultec lockbox, and it's the one that Coleon Noir pushes. And I will get the brand here in a second. I got to tell you, it's awesome. It's called the Vaultec Life Pod. Um, I'm a huge fan of that. And what I got it for, if you guys want to check that out, just go to Vaultec. That's VAULTEK, and I met with them at SHOT Show trying to get them on as an affiliate company, to be honest with you, because their life pod is amazing. It is, I mean, it's the size of probably a large hardcover novel, and it's got a 4 number keypad, and there's also one with I think a biometric thumb scan, but it holds a firearm, a magazine, it holds some documents. I got it for what I wanted when I was traveling a lot, and I always travel with a firearm if I can. And it was great. It held the firearm, 2 spare mags, my knife, all in one box, and didn't have to worry about a padlock on top of it. So
well, that's why like I didn't want to because a lot of these names are similar, and I didn't want to misspeak and tell some and
sure,
call out
yeah, no,
somebody being junk, and it's not. The one I used, you mentioned Shot Show. I met these people at SHOT Show and they sent me one for free, and that's why I had that Monster Vault in my Forerunner, and it was awesome. Um, there's one, yeah, Hornady ones are junk.
yeah.
There's I'm seeing Tuffy Tuffy, those are crap. Um, there's one, my buddy has it in his Jeep, and I think this is it. It's uh shoot, I can't find it. Because there's I don't drive a Ford again. Oh, Guardian is the one. It's so Guardian. My buddy has it in his Jeep, and it basically takes the existing factory center console, and then it's an insert that slides down inside
Oh
the
yeah,
center
okay,
console, and then hard mounts to the chassis, or not the chassis, but to the body of the
yep,
vehicle. And so somebody coming by and looking through your window, it's just going to look like you have the normal center console, but it actually turned his center console into a an actual legit gun safe. And like I said, the one I had was Monster Vault. And but yeah, there's some ones to steer away from. I would just say do your research, but anything you're going to put in your vehicle, don't use the ones that are like the cable lock. I've even seen ones that don't even like really lock down. They kind of they're friction fit like between your seats or the little
oh yeah,
magnets,
yeah, yeah,
and like stuff like that. You're just asking for trouble, really. Like, and I like this is kind of a way that I keep myself in check because my little gun bag with my truck gun, um, it's in a gem bag, and so like that's the constant devil and angel tapping on my shoulder going, hey idiot, take this with you.
yeah,
So when I do have it in my car, most of the time I only put it in there when I'm going somewhere, like if I'm like I've said this before, like if I'm staying in a hotel, that bag is definitely coming with me, but it's coming
yeah.
into my hotel room with me. I'm
Yeah.
not leaving it unattended in the back of my car. So
Well, yeah, that's huge. Yeah,
but yeah,
that's obviously that's important.
because I think a lot of
Um,
these things like that thing that mounts to the back of your seat, or um, you know, uh, if you buy some kind of Pelican case or hard case or one of these gun vaults or gun boxes or whatever, I think you're giving yourself a false sense of security because you're telling yourself, well, my gun's in something, so it's fine.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
But
So this right here is the Vaultec Life Pod, and it's a dark picture. So you can, for those of you that are looking at it, it's blue, and they make a bunch of different colors, and they've got these latches on the side there. Once you hit the numbers, they release. But this and here's the inside of it, and it comes with that little. That's probably an additional attachment you can get, but it's not secured anywhere. And I, like I said, for me, this was for traveling. I would not put this in my vehicle and think that my firearm, my pistol, was safe by any stretch of the imagination. I will take that with me if I'm going to somebody's house where there may be children and I want to secure my firearm at night, because I obviously I can access it. But though that's a different situation when it comes to a truck gun or a, a firearm in your vehicle. You've got to weigh all of the options as far as securing it, and like you just said, if you're going someplace overnight, well, you bring that in with you, whether it's a hotel, whether it's somebody's house. You
whether
don't
it's at
leave it
your
in
house.
there, or your house. Exactly. Um, the reason I don't carry a rifle with me in my vehicle when I'm traveling my 7 miles to HQ is because I've got a rifle at HQ and I've got a
Well, there you
rifle
go.
at my house. So I don't necessarily feel the need, because like I've said in many a times, and you've heard me say it, what I have on me gets me to my vehicle. What I have in my vehicle gets me to my house or here at the HQ where I've got more and I don't need it. So I don't need to. Now, again, if what I have on me and I happen to be in my office and the on me happens to be the rifle next to me, well, I've leveled up without having to get those other steps out of the way. Um, but that's my choice and that's my preference.
Well,
And
speaking of your choice, do you have a truck gun? Or do you have a gun that you would consider your truck gun? And if you do, what is it?
God, I do. I do have one in the vehicle,
I do too.
and it is the 19X. And it has the level up of an OWB holster, and it is, again, there's a there's a couple of spare magazines for that, but I don't always carry a Glock, so I've got a
Ah,
spare
fail.
magazine. I've got a spare magazine for the P320. I've got a spare magazine for my 48 in there. I've got a spare magazine for the 365 macro in there, and I've got AR magazines in there. That is that's my level up bag, whether you want to call it a get home bag or whatnot, but that's the level up kit. So that's the secret hidden box that you find in a video game that levels your character up. So that's what I keep in the vehicle. I don't know. That's whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. That's my choice. What about you?
So my carry gun is my carry gun. I have two primary carry guns. On a day to day basis, like I said, in the 90 percentile of the time or higher, uh, I'll either have my Glock 43 or my Glock 48 on me. Those are my basically. I do like there's a I have a P320 X compact that I carry like every once in a while. I just bought it because I wanted it really. But my two primary carry guns are my Glock 43 and my Glock 48. And so my carry gun is my carry gun. I would not call that my truck gun. And which, by the way, I should have said this at the top. I really that's why I keep making fun of it. I hate that. I hate the term truck gun. I just think it sounds stupid. Um, but the gun that I have that I would consider my quote unquote truck gun.
Mhm.
It's a rifle. It's a BCM rifle. I forget which model it is, but it's the 13.7 inch BCM rifle
Okay.
with the because of the 13.7 inch barrel with the pinned and welded Surefire War Comp.
Yeah.
That makes it 16 inches. So that's the shortest barrel configuration that can still be a rifle without having to be a pistol. So it's a BCM rifle, the 13.7 barrel and pinned and welded Surefire War Comp. So it's suppressor capable and all that, or, it can take a suppressor, all that. And I have the Law Tactical folder on it. So then that's why it fits in that little Hurley gym bag. And so, yeah, it's got, and has a Trijicon MRO, and that gun has my PEC 15 on it. I don't always carry my night vision goggles, but I figure that's kind of my shit hit the fan gun. So
Yeah.
my PEC 15's on there. It has a Surefire light. But yeah, that would be my truck gun. But like I said, I never leave it in the vehicle. If it comes with me, it's coming with me. But I don't take it every day. I do like a little risk assessment. Sometimes I carry it, sometimes I don't. But when I do have it, it never stays unattended in my vehicle. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that obviously that makes a lot of sense. I don't really do the rifle um situation here. And we've had at length discussions on rifle versus pistol in my world and what makes sense to me. Um, you know,
yeah, and so just to round that out, in my little go bag, it's the folded up rifle. Um, I call it a bank robber chest rig. So I store the rifle in the bag with a magazine in it. So that's one magazine. And then I have the little bank robber chest rig with 4 mags in it. So I have 5 rifle magazines. And then also in the little bag is my SIG M17 with in a Safariland holster on a True North Concepts modular holster adapter. So I can just
mhm,
click that onto my belt and have an OWB holster with a pistol with the SIG M17, and then
right.
I have there's a magazine in it, and then I have a magazine pouch with 3 magazines in it. So I've got a total of 5 rifle magazines, a total of 4 pistol mags, a holster, mag pouch, chest rig. I have the really thin, lightweight, low profile armor plates from oh shoot, I'll think of it.
Now,
On a slick plate carrier, and
uh,
then a little
okay.
mini, like, just empty, like day pack backpack, and it's all in my little go bag.
Okay, so that's all in the bag that you decide to throw in your truck when you
Yep.
decide to bring your vehicle firearm with you.
Yep.
Okay. Now, is there a distance and location um I guess deciding factor when you decide to pull that into put that in play?
There's not like a set distance. My armor plates are by Defender Armor, DFNDR armor. That's super light, super low profile, super thin armor plates. But anyway, like if I'm going, so call a spade a spade. Like I know if I go to Los Angeles, like this weekend, most of this past weekend I was in Los Angeles and I had that bag in my car the whole time because I know if I'm in Los Angeles and something happens, I'm probably going to be on my own. Like if I call the cops, they're probably not coming. And also, like I've talked about this before, if anybody is listening and doesn't know, and the way they build freeways here in Southern California is the freeways are like dug into the ground kind of, and on the sides of the freeways are just like straight up walls. So in a time where we live in, where Antifa or Hamas or Black Lives Matter or whatever, they decide they want to do a protest or whatever and shut down the freeway or lock down the freeway or block the freeway, or if some kind of big emergency happens and the freeway is stopped or blocked or shut down, you're in this channel with vertical concrete walls on each side. And so if I have to leave my vehicle and go on foot, I'm going heavy and loud, man. And
Right.
so
So, but one of the things you said,
anytime I'm going anywhere where I'm staying in a hotel, I take it. Anytime I'm going to like a big population center like that where I'm far away from home, I'm taking it. Anytime we had a whole other episode about triggers. Um,
right,
like, an example is like if you hear on the news that they have ceased all airline travel, like that means something bad is happening. So,
right.
uh,
But But I want to
go
go back to what you
okay,
said when you said you were in Los Angeles all weekend and you had that in your car.
yep.
So you go for lunch, you're not taking that bag out of the car with you, right? So you're leaving that and you're assuming that risk for the time that you're in there where that could get stolen, right? I mean, I think that's
Yeah, in the broad strokes, yeah. But I mean, there
okay.
again, I have my carry gun on my person, and my vehicle
Right.
is within sight. So
Okay.
I don't leave if that bag's in there. I don't ever the car's never out of my sight really.
Okay.
Um, and I mean, unless I go into the bathroom or something for
Yeah.
to pee. But
Okay.
so yeah, so I guess so yeah. You make a good point. Nothing is 100%.
Right.
So
Right. So, listen, guys, this is a obviously it's an opinion piece. Whether you think that having a vehicle in your firearm is a good choice or a bad choice is all dependent on your life, your situation, and your daily activities. We would love to hear what that is in the comment section, whether it is on YouTube or it is on Spotify or Apple. Please let us know what you think. Do you think it is a um, a not necessary situation, or do you think it's extra gray man and all should partake in it? I like I said, I know what I believe, and I do carry one, but I also don't. I'm pretty sure that I don't have a signal out there saying, "Hey, look in my vehicle. There's one here." But again, it's all what you guys think. As we wrap today's episode up, we want to hear your feedback so we can understand what you guys think as well. So as always, thank you guys for being here. We could probably go on when it's about firearms for days, but we like to keep it respectful for you guys. So until next time, you guys stay safe. Jamie.
yeah, so I'll close out with this. I think this is one of those things that kind of comes with age. I think that's just the way it is. But don't try not to be one of those people where you have to wrap your identity into your vehicle, like where in your mind you are Toyota Tacoma guy or that you're F-150 guy, and
Right.
because that really, like I think I'm a pretty prepared, smart, tough, strong, trained guy, and I drive a Subaru Outback, and that's not an accident. Like because that's a vehicle that has a lot of storage space. It's a vehicle that's like off-road capable, but it's a vehicle that people are just going to look past.
Right.
And I don't. When I look in the mirror, I don't see a Subaru Outback guy, right? Like because I'm not turning my vehicle into my identity. But when you do that, you're making something that stands out in one way or another. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a Jeep or a Tacoma. You could be Dodge Hellcat guy or whatever in your mind, but you don't have to have a bright orange Dodge Hellcat that's going to draw a bunch of attention. So, just think about things like that. Think about being the gray man. It's funny that we were recording this today because this morning I went to go. I had to run to the grocery store real quick this morning, and there was a homeless guy outside the grocery store. And I'm not going to go into the whys, but this morning I was wearing two watches. I had a watch on my right wrist and a watch on my left wrist, but like, who cares? The
Right.
homeless guy asked me for money, and I told him no. And as I was walking away, he's like, "Well, you're wearing two watches. You must have something." And like, so people do notice, like,
Yeah.
and you may think you're gray manning it up, but people that are looking for, because homeless people are predatory or
Yeah.
parasitic, whatever, however you want to look at it. But uh he's a guy that's he's a guy that's noticing because he's selectively choosing who he's going to ask for money and who he's going to approach. And he noticed that I was a guy that had two watches on,
Yeah.
and two nice watches on my wrist. And he noticed. So anyway, don't think people don't notice. People do notice. So when you're going so extreme into the gray, you're probably not gray anymore. So anyway, just think
Right.
about that, because it's easy to be hard and it's hard to be smart. So
All right, folks. Until next time, you guys stay safe. ZP002.